Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on people's lives, we must take back our land again. America! Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath. America will be.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Sherry Bin, Assistant Vice President for Institutional Inclusive Excellence for Student Initiatives. And on behalf of Institutional Inclusive Excellence and University Administration, I want to welcome you to our Texas State 2021 Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative celebration. Thank you so much for being with us today. While COVID may require programmatic adjustments, it does not and will not change that which we value, esteem, and regard as important. The celebration of Dr. King's birthday is one of the many celebratory ways that Texas State demonstrates an unwavering commitment to justice, diversity, equity, access, and inclusiveness. It was decided that our theme, Dream Together, would continue from last year into this year's celebration because the sentiments of Dream Together remain at the forefront of our community, in that it will indeed take all of us working together continuously to make manifest King's dream, especially now during these challenging and turbulent times, which would not have been unfamiliar to Dr. King. And during such times, we must remain hopeful, particularly when things seem dire or uncertain, because hope is an essential requirement of progress, growth, and societal transformation. Hope is why we strive and why we dream in the face of that which seems unjust, impossible, and even daunting. Hope is why there is a continuation of our efforts to fulfill the making of a new reality of unarmed truth and insistent love that eternally knows justice, though at times it seems temporarily defeated. And yet hopes and dreams do not operate in a vacuum. It takes both a belief in a greater good just beyond our reach, along with the action to meet the challenges of the poignant calling to Umoja. The practice of striving together for unity, harmony, through a dependable togetherness based and sustained in action with one another within our organizations, community, school, and nation. To dream together is not merely a slogan or theme we have chosen. It is a commitment to a practice of solidarity to maintain our communal harmony. It means working together through our struggles to stay or get on one accord for the sake of the good of this, our community of plurality. It is striving together, to be together, to live together, and to grow together in the face of systems of oppression that thrive on fear. The fear of being honest with one another while remaining in relational capacity with each other while persisting as community. It is the imperative to consciously and intentionally unite in order to define, defend, and develop our diverse community's best interests to ensure its relevancy in dealing with current issues and its perpetuity. To honor Dr. King's dream is to include the voices from the margins. It is to support the work being done by an intersectional, intergenerational, queer, transracial coalition led by young, diverse people with a multitude of abilities, like the students that we serve, love, and support, who in their collective call keep pressing us towards the mark to dismantle societal, structural, and systemic injustice because they know that we are who we have been waiting for to carry on King's torch, and that includes you. Speaking of you, I want to thank you for being here with us today. And I want to acknowledge our MLK Planning Committee, our IIESI team, our tech support, and all of the beautiful, audacious, and courageous students who continue to gift us with the delight of their creative brilliance and insistence that we keep leveling up. I want to speak my appreciation to Dr. Dana Fitzpatrick for all the work she put into coordinating this virtual program, to President Trout, who really wanted us to have our time-honored march, but thanks, or rather no thanks to COVID, she and Dr. Fitz decided best to ensure the safety and well-being of our community, adhere to protocols, and forgo the march, a first time in 37 years. And of course, I want to thank our guest speaker, someone I consider a dear friend. She is also one of my sorority sisters, a fellow Bobcat, who was a member of the Texas State women's basketball team during her matriculation at Texas State. She is now the Vice Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Houston, the Honorable Martha Castex Tatum, who will be providing our special remarks towards the end of our program. And you will learn more about her when she is formally introduced. Thank you all and welcome to each of you to this commemorative celebration of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. It is a great day to be a Bobcat. At this time.
Rejoicing, rise high as the list. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chisabaum. I'm a junior majoring in political science, and it is my pleasure to introduce President of Texas State University, Dr. Denise Trauth.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and welcome to Texas State University's 37th annual celebration of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And special thanks to the students who are sharing their talents with us by performing music, dance, and poetry. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the faculty and staff who worked to organize today's event. Dr. King's legacy is one of hope. Through his life and words, he showed us that hope takes courage. It requires a willingness to take bold risks that some would even perceive as radical. And hope will take us forward. I'm humbled to have witnessed on countless occasions what our community is capable of. I've seen the impact we can make when we work together with a shared goal. Let this year's theme of Dream Together carry us into the rest of 2021. It can serve as a reminder that we are a community, even though we may be physically apart. We remain connected by our values, goals, and dreams for the future. Although I'm horrified by the way this new year started, a terrorist takeover of our nation's capital, I am hopeful as we enter 2021 because of the promise of a COVID vaccine. This is a unique time for our nation, and yet some of the challenges we face are timeless. We are gathering virtually today to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and reaffirm our commitment to carry on his work for racial equality. Dr. King is a widely beloved and revered figure today, but that wasn't always the case. Before monuments were erected in his honor and a federal holiday bore his name, his advocacy of basic human rights and equality was considered by many to be radical. I hope that reminds us as we take on the work ahead of us this year, even when we're doing precisely what we should, we can still run into resistance. When we try to move in a new direction, to find a better way, and to uplift the voices of those who have been marginalized, Some people may say that's wrong and even call it radical. Press on in the pursuit of justice and equality. For those who feel you don't have a voice or that your voice is not important, press on. For those of you who have worked for equality all your life and sometimes feel overwhelmed by the racism you see around you, press on. As an institution of higher learning and a community fortunate to include many people of color, we have responsibilities. We must be rooted in a culture that values equity, diversity, inclusion, access, civility, and justice. We must do everything in our power to make each and every person feel welcomed and at home in our community. We must work across all areas of the university to create this inclusive environment and to do the work that inclusion requires. In the spirit of Dr. King, we owe it to each other and to ourselves to have the courage and humility to recognize our own biases. We must have the courage to examine the truth about our history as a nation, the truth about the ugliness of racism and hate, and the truth about our own individual personal biases, which can perpetuate racism and prejudice. Half a century after Dr. King's assassination, racial injustice has endured. Some of our students, faculty, and staff of color live under the weight of stereotypes and bigotry that are rooted in fear and ignorance. As a white woman of privilege, I'll never fully understand the experiences of our Black students, faculty, and staff, or the emotions they have felt during the social and political upheaval of the past several years. But as president of Texas State, I am committed to building an environment where they feel safe, valued, and heard. I want to share a short reading about Dr. King written by his friend and our civil rights hero, the late Congressman John Lewis. This is from his book, Across That Bridge. Quote, "Through his leadership, people young and old, Black and white, from different parts of America and from nations around the world, we were able to expose the falsehood of division. The idea that there is a separation between us that makes one person somehow better than the other. The stain of this lie had permeated American history and was embedded in the fabric of American life." Congressman Lewis closes this quotation by saying, "Dr. King's leadership and his activism helped to redeem the soul of America, a nation destined for greatness, but tarnished by a persistent, nagging untruth." Today, we must continue to root out this untruth that our Black students, faculty, and staff still experience. We see the impact of this falsehood in socioeconomic disparity that exists for Black people. Racism and systematic injustices have very real and dire consequences, and we need not look far to see proof of this. The pandemic has disproportionately impacted Black communities, businesses, and families. How do we rebut this falsehood described by Congressman Lewis? We stand up together to affirm that Black lives matter. We take bold action together to seek a reckoning for social injustice. We unequivocally denounce white supremacy. As a university, we not only condemn hate, bigotry, and racism, but we actively remove it from our culture and our systems. We drive forward focused on equity, empowerment, and transformation. But we know that this requires more than words. At Texas State, we have taken bold action to build a community rooted in equity and inclusion for people of color and marginalized groups. That's why we have worked hard and worked together to create initiatives aimed at enhancing equity and inclusion. We convened a task force to rename 2 buildings and name streets on both our San Marcos and Round Rock campuses after distinguished members of the Texas State family who are Black and Latino. Another task force is answering questions about mandatory diversity, equity, and inclusion training for faculty and staff. The Council on Inclusive Excellence membership has been updated to bring key leaders together to provide input and guidance. We recently signed a contract with Life Anew, an organization that will guide us through the process of building long-term, equitable relationships across the university. Last summer, we held a day of reflection and solidarity on Juneteenth. Listening sessions with faculty, staff, and students of color, and town halls that focused on restorative justice and equitable relationships. We led a major reorganization effort that centralized diversity, equity, and inclusion units that were previously separate. Bringing these teams together has amplified the transformational work being done by DE&I professionals on our 2 campuses. We also created programs and resources that support the recruitment and promotion of faculty and staff of color. These efforts are all designed to build an environment where all students, faculty, and staff feel welcomed and valued. And I'm proud of the progress we've made, but we still have more work to do. And it will take all of us working and dreaming together to build the inclusive and equitable Texas State all Bobcats deserve. Together, we will press on. In the words of Dr. King, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. May we continue to be fierce in our truth-telling and our commitment to hear and value every voice. Thanks to all of you for joining us today.
Good afternoon to all of those virtually in attendance. My name is Jaden Edison, and I currently serve as the editor-in-chief of the University Star. And it is with great honor that I present today's Dream Award. You know, serving as the editor of a student-run news organization, I have seen quite a bit unfold on this campus. But I think it is safe to say that we all have gone through it since January 21st, 2020. The last time we met in the LBJ Ballroom for this annual celebration in light of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And on that night, we recognized the remarkable Dr. Joanne Smith, who has since retired from Texas State, for her contributions and impact in 30 years on this campus. And since then, we have seen the COVID-19 pandemic take its toll on the world, disproportionately impacting our day-to-day lives. We have witnessed a racial reckoning across the country, one that made its way to the steps of the Hayes County Historic Courthouse during the summer and the doors of our University Police Department here on Texas State's campus, organized by students who simply said, enough is enough. And even amid this global health crisis, we have witnessed people stand in line at voting polls to cast their ballots for candidates they believed in, refusing to go unheard this time around. You know, when I think of Black Texas State, a title we have proudly bestowed upon ourselves as Black students, staff, and faculty members, I think of courage, I think of heart, I think of love, I think of community, and a high care factor for doing the right things, speaking up and showing out, not afraid to let this institution know when it falls short of expectations. But those traits didn't just consume our spirits after shaking the Lyndon Baines Johnson statue's hand before a test. Black Texas State had its origins dating all the way back to 1963, when 5 trailblazers integrated this campus to try and give themselves an equal chance at success, tearing a racist white charter into pieces while doing it. Exactly the type of action Dr. King desired for sisters and brothers across the country at that time and beyond. The Office of Institutional Inclusive Excellence Student Initiatives, along with the Martin Luther King Jr. Commemorative Day Committee, wishes to recognize and honor these 5 remarkable women with the 2nd ever Dream Award, first awarded to Dr. Smith for paving the way for our students to have a place they can come and thrive, a place they can love and find ways to be the best version of themselves each and every day, no matter what barrier, policy, or procedure gets placed in front of them. You see, the Dream Award honors effective leaders of the Bobcat community who have been strong advocates, acted as change agents, and have demonstrated their courage and leadership by engaging in the difficult work of fostering human dignity and common humanity through their projects, programs, and visions. People who have encouraged transformational change within the systems and environments in which they operate in every day. When it comes to the Black community, everybody on this call, you know if you know, we love to refer to our most beloved trailblazers on a first name basis, whether it's Rosa, whether it's Janet, whether it's Beyonce, whether it's Gladys, Michelle, or others. And this evening, we will most certainly give these 5 women the same love, respect, admiration, and recognition they deserve. It is with great honor to recognize Dana, Georgia, Gloria, Maybelline, and Helen as the recipients of this year's Dream Award, with Gloria here to accept it on their behalf.
What's up, Bobcats? My name is Jalen Lopez. I also go by Jay, and I'm the Vice President of Hip Hop Congress. And this is...
My name is Cameron Jones. I also go by Dougie C, and I am the membership recruiter for Hip Hop Congress.
And today we're going to be performing a song that we made about the social injustice going on today. And we really hope you guys enjoy it.
Let's get to it.
Yeah. I know God's working if I see it or not. My people shall overcome if you believe it or not. We still fighting to the day we see that dream that we got. Arrest the cops who killed Brianna. Oh, you thought we forgot? We'll never forget it. You're privileged, so you never could get it. Just because we're different doesn't mean you murder our women or even our children. It's got me praying to God, cause I can't take how much is breaking my heart. They take away our sons and they don't care about the mothers crying. They try all lives matter just to keep us quiet. We tired of fighting, so we started riots. We burned the city cause we tired of dying. And kneel anytime that flag rises. Moment of silence for the people who died. Our skin is beautiful, this shouldn't be the reason we die. And every time I step aside, I'm afraid that I'm next. And I legalize supporting our black lives. Do you see?
It's not easy, but we've been trying to hold on. We gotta keep pressing on. We gotta stay strong for our own. Concrete's bleeding from people who ain't done wrong. Why do they take away our life? Why do they take us from our homes? And we just wanna live. And we just wanna give our kids a better life. What about us young makes you so fine? And power of love beats love and power. And a world with no peace. Promise to use our voices to one perfect melody.
Thank you, Hip Hop Congress, for that original song selection. My name is Dedrick Johnson, and I am pleased to have the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker this evening. Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Cassick Tatum is a proud alum from Southwest Texas State, which we now know as Texas State University. During her time here, she received a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Master of Public Administration. After completing college, Mrs. Cassick Tatum decided to get involved with local politics and run for city commissioner right here in San Marcos. This was extremely significant because she was able to defeat a 12-year city council incumbent and become the first African-American female to serve on San Marcos City Council. After a few years of serving in San Marcos, she returned to her hometown of Houston, Texas, where she now serves as the Vice Mayor Pro Tem right next to Mayor Sylvester Turner. Ms. Martha Cassick Tatum is also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, where she has been an active member for over 29 years. Bobcat family and guests, please join me in welcoming Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Cassick Tatum.
Good evening. I am elated to have the opportunity to bring remarks to the 2021 MLK Commemorative Celebration with my fellow Bobcats, albeit virtually at our beloved Texas State University. The unifying theme of our program today, Dream Together, is one of hope and a call to action. We can all agree that 2020 was a year we all dealt with so many unexpected circumstances, and we each had to learn to pivot safely and keep moving forward. Every year in January, we celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King and his tremendous impact on America. This year, however, the celebration just hit differently. We are in the midst of a deadly pandemic, experiencing a deeply divided political climate in our country, grappling with an insurrection on the US Capitol, and still trying to figure out how to go to school, work, church, grocery stores, fight for justice and democracy, run our daily errands, celebrate graduations and birthdays, and all those things that come with everyday life virtually and safely. These are turbulent times. However, and never lose our hope. The restlessness, violence, uncertainty, and peril in our country can only be addressed if we decide collectively that in the days ahead, we will not only quote Dr. King, but channel his calls for peace and equality. We will work together as a society where caring and compassion drive political policies that support worldwide elimination of poverty and hunger and all forms of bigotry and violence. That's what Dr. King describes as the beloved community. And while Dr. Martin Luther King is a giant in the civil rights movement and he is revered by so many today, we can never forget that Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated and was one of the most disliked men in America. But he never strayed from his message of togetherness and nonviolence. He never stopped trying to penetrate the hearts of others while being extremely resolute about eradicating racism and the need for justice and equality. Together, we must have that same resolve. As we honor Dr. King on what would have been his 92nd birthday, it is my hope that his message of love and action will resonate with each of us. And the real changing of America can only happen when we dream and work together. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this time with each of you. I wish you much success in your educational pursuits. Be kind and take care of each other.
Thank you so much for those words, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Castix Tatum. And thank you all for joining us virtually from your various locations. Be sure to stop by Institutional Inclusive Excellence Student Initiatives located on the second floor in the LBJ Student Center, Suite 2-20.0, across from the bookstore. This week, Tuesday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and pick up your MLK t-shirt. One t-shirt per student will be given out on a first-come, first-served basis, and you should be prepared to present your Texas State ID card. To conclude our program is a dance performance by the African Student Organization. Thank you again to all of you for joining us today. Bye.
It's Gazi Jeff Productions. That's the way.
Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana